brilliant mind belongs to the guy who cleans the floors.
This boy's genius is unparalleled.
Now,
playtime's over, right, Chief?
he's met the one man
Let's let the healing begin.
who can change his life forever. Robin Williams, Matt Damon, in the film Newsweek calls rich, funny, and sensationally appealing. Siskel and Ebert give it 2 big thumbs up. It's hands down the best film of the year. Good Will Hunting, rated R.
I mean, that trailer pretty much tells you everything you need to know about this movie. That's basically the plot of the film. And more importantly, it's a nice return to form for Robin Williams, considering what we had to look at the last time around with the infamous Flubber. Not only that, but this is the movie that won him the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. I mean, he had been nominated several times beforehand for stuff like Good Morning Vietnam, Dead Poets Society, The Fisher King. Even though I thought he was great in The Fisher King, this is the film that finally got him that long-deserved Oscar, and he rightfully deserves it. He really put together a great performance in here. He plays off of Matt Damon very well here. And for Matt Damon, man, like, this is the movie that kind of launched him into the stratosphere, because this is the film that because basically you have to be really good to be with these seasoned veterans, guys like Robin Williams and even Stellan Skarsgård, and he just works it so well here. And not only that, he co-wrote the script with Ben Affleck, and of course they won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay as well, both Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. And they just goes to show the talent that these guys had coming into this movie. I mean, and it is a thought-provoking film. It's not a movie like A Dead Poet Society or Good Morning Vietnam, or even something that Robin Williams has been doing, like these Oscar baitish type movies like Jack, and then later on Patch Adams. No, this is a completely different movie than that. It's a film that works on so many levels because of the performances. The casting overall in this is great. Robin Williams, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Stellan Skarsgård, Minnie Driver's in here, Casey Affleck, Cole Hauser, George Plimpton is in here too. It's a great cast that just works so well. And the writing by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck is just so top-notch. It's a great soundtrack. It's a great story. The soundtrack is really good too, done by Danny Elfman. And for Gus Van Sant, it's a film that really shows his range as a director, because prior to this he had done stuff like Drugstore Cowboy, and then also To Die For was his last film, which was a great film, My Own Private Idaho, and then of course he did Even Cowgirls Get the Blues, but even that one wasn't the worst thing ever, considering what Gus Van Sant would follow that up with Psycho, but it goes to show you what Gus Van Sant can do as a director, and just everything about this movie just works so well. The writing, the acting, the direction, the music. It's a really fantastic film. I can't recommend this one enough. If you have not seen Good Will Hunting, you need to see it, man. You'd be doing yourself a major, major disservice by not doing so. And like I said, it's a nice return to form for Robin Williams after what happened the last time we were here with Flubber. I want to get that out of my hand right now. I want to get that out of my head right now. So Good Will Hunting, yeah, it's a great film to see. Definitely check that one out. So with that said, let's take a look at the other movie that came out this weekend. Not quite as memorable as Good Will Hunting. I don't know, The Ride.
He's the best the sport's ever seen.
On a downward spiral.
I told you I'd pay you back.
And the road back to the top
I don't like this. Reach in.
just took a little detour.
Welcome to Saguaro Boys Ranch. You telling me that I need permission from one of these little runts to cross the street? That's right.
A movie so forgettable that it doesn't even have an official Wikipedia page. This is one I had to go to IMDb to get full information on, and the plot pretty much sounds like what you think it's going to be. Michael Biehn plays this guy, Smokey Banks, one of the greatest bull riders in rodeo. But for the last few years, this has-been cowboy has been riding the bookie in Baltimore and taking a far worse beating than any bull he's ever delivered. Now, through a sudden set of events, he's given an opportunity. He gets a choice between going to jail or being a cowboy teacher at a boy's ranch. Saddled with a dozen young boys, wild as any bull he's ever faced, his mission was simple. Teach this young guy how to ride a bull. Very reluctant, Smokey agrees, not realizing that Danny will be far more of a teacher than to him that he's ever dreamed. Okay, you've heard this story done so many times. Like, come on. Like, it's the Karate Kid, except replace karate with bullfighting. In fact, the director of the Karate Kid has made a movie like this that we've talked about in the past, 8 Seconds, which is not a great film. Terrible is an understatement, because this is a terrible looking film. I mean, we've seen this story done over and over again. Do I really need to tell you if it's any interesting? Like, if there's nothing on it on Wikipedia, it probably should tell you something about the lasting legacy this movie has. It doesn't have any. It doesn't even have a major studio behind it. It's a story that's been done to death so many times, and just, you know how it's going to end. You know what's going to happen. There's nothing interesting about these characters whatsoever. It's a pretty bland and forgettable movie, and, yeah, that's all I got to say for you on that one. That's The Ride.
Let's get down to business. The way I see it, someone's out to make a sequel. You know, cash in on all the movie murder hoopla. So it's our job to observe the rules of the sequel.
What are you talking about?
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to make a successful sequel. Number one, the body count is always bigger. Number two, the death scenes are always much more elaborate. Carnage, candy.
How do we find the killer, Randy? That's what I want to know.
Well, let's look at the suspects. There's the obvious boyfriend, Derek.
So you think it's Derek?
Not so fast. Forget the boyfriend. It's tired. Who else do we got?
There's
Mickey, the freaky Tarantino film student. But if he's a suspect, so am I. So let's move on.
Maybe you are a suspect.
Well, if I'm a suspect, you're a suspect.
You have a point. Okay, let's move on.
Because the first Scream movie was such a big success, Dimension Films decided, screw it, let's make another one. And I think they already had another script ready to go, is after the first movie came out. I could be wrong on that, but then again, this did come out a year after the original Scream, so it wouldn't be surprising if they already had a sequel already planned for this. This takes place 2 years after the first movie. You follow Sidney again, once again played by Neve Campbell, and other survivors of the Woodsboro Massacre at this fictional Windsor College, where they're targeted by a copycat killer using the disguise of Ghostface. And like its predecessor, they combine the violence of the slasher genre with elements of comedy, satire, whodunit mystery, while also satirizing the cliches of film sequels, which is the logical step this series should take. And really, it makes this probably one of the best horror sequels you'll ever see, because they really delve into the satirical elements and deal with the cliches of the film sequel. I mean, you see it in that little teaser alone, but the movie overall is just really damn good. It's a really solid sequel that's surprisingly slightly better than the original film. I mean, the cast once again works off each other very well here. You have Campbell back, David Arquette, Courtney Cox, Jamie Kennedy's back in here. You have Sarah Michelle Gellar, Laurie Metcalf, Jerry O'Connell, Elise Neal, Tim Oliphant, Liev Schreiber, Jada Pinkett's in here as well. I mean, good cast overall here, and it just works to all the advantages that Scream had, but does it even better. Like, the music is a lot better, the storytelling is much better, the comedy is much better, the elements of horror are really good in here. Like, this is why I became invested in these first two movies, and sadly after that, these films just just kept moving away from me so much that I didn't really want to see the other films, even these newer films. But I always remember the first and second movie. The second one, I think, is one of the best sequels that I've ever seen. One of the best horror sequels of all time. I mean, I can't really think of a. It would be a long discussion for me to have, talking about some of the best horror sequels out there, because there really aren't that many horror sequels that are better than the original film. There are a few, but most of the time it's a success, and so they just rehash the same story from the first movie again. But this one, they actually do take it to another level, and it really does work here. The elements work on so many levels. The casting overall is great. The writing is top-notch. The direction is once again very good. It's a really solid film. I mean, you could tell that Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson had a good idea of what they wanted to do for the sequel, and they make it work here. It works incredibly well. I don't think I have any more to say about this one. It's one of the best sequels I've ever seen. Like, it's one of the best horror sequels of all time, too. Why am I pausing all the time? But, yeah, it's one of the best horror sequels I've ever seen, man. This is a great, great film. If you haven't seen Scream 2, you're doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing so. I'd say watch the first two Scream movies, and then maybe go back and go check out the other Scream films as well, which we'll slowly but surely get to here as we keep moving forward here. But I always remember the first two movies being the most memorable out of the bunch, but we'll see what happens. Maybe Scream 3 and 4 are actually a whole lot better than I ever thought they were, or maybe not. Maybe they're just not. But I'm looking forward to Scream 5 and 6, though, once we get to those films later on down the road. But anyway, so that's Scream 2. Let's go ahead and move on to another horror movie. Well, I guess not really a horror movie. It's a horror. It's not even a horror comedy, I should say. But the horrors of watching Tim Allen and Kirstie Alley in a story you've seen done to death, for richer or poorer.
Their marriage was cold.
If you want out, just say out.
Their accounts were frozen.
Hold that IRS!
But now,
I come in peace.
they found a new family
Surprise!
with a cause of new skills.
I'm domestically challenged.
We can do this. And the love
It's been a long time since she opened her barn for me.
they thought they lost.
Did you ever really love me?
Yeah.
Tim Allen, Kirstie Alley, for richer or poorer. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
Hi, Doc Hollywood. Hi, Cars. Hi, Did You Hear About the Morgans? Hi, every single movie with the same plot that you know is going to be... It's going to go the same way you think it's going to go. I mean, you have Tim Allen and Kirstie Alley as this New York socialite couple. They decide to end their relationship because they can't stop bickering at one another. But at the same time, their accountant steals their money through mismanagement and filing tax returns. But then again, when you hire Newman as your accountant, that's more than likely going to happen. And I'm not kidding. Wayne Knight plays their accountant here. And I mean, be honest, Newman would probably do that in real life if he was handling Jerry's accounts like that. Or then again, Jerry would be smart enough to never let him touch his money. But you know what happens here. The IRS is after them, and they've got to hide out somewhere where nobody's going to find them. And in this case, they hide out in Amish country. And yeah, this is a film that just, if you really, really do not know what's going to happen in this movie, you have clearly just started watching movies, because this is a story that's been done to death for years now. Doc Hollywood perfected it. You know, Cars was okay with it. Then we get stuff like Did You Hear About the Morgans? And we have a lot of movies with this same type of storyline. You have people that are in trouble with the law, or a mobster wants to kill them, so they got to hide out somewhere. It's like nothing about the story is new or unique. Maybe it could have worked if the actors were trying, and the actors were trying to give this a little more weight to it, but they're not doing that. Tim Allen and Kirstie Alley are just doing it so they can cash a paycheck. I mean, Kirstie Alley was just coming back with Veronica's Closet, and Tim Allen was bordering on the end of his run with Home Improvement. But this is actually one of the few films from the Home Improvement era where Tim Allen did a film that wasn't produced by Disney, so I guess that's something interesting. It's hard to believe this director's best work is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie. This is directed by the same guy that did that, McHale's Navy, and I guess to his defense, this is probably his second best movie out of the three, but then again, that's not really saying all that much. And there's a lot of good talent involved here. Michael Werner, Wayne Knight, Larry Miller, Miguel Nunez, Megan Cavanaugh, Carrie Preston, Marla Maples has a cameo in here, Michael Angarano, Michael Angarano, I think I'm pronouncing that right, but yeah, there's people in here that you know can make some of this material work, but maybe not Marla Maples. I guess that was probably in there just for a cameo, but it's been a while since I've seen this movie, but from what I remember from it, I don't really like it all that much, and it's basically, you can pretty much see why it is. It's a story that's been done to death. There's nothing about it that makes it unique or make it stand out on its own. It's a terrible, terrible movie. Like, it's a mess of a film. And this was one of the straws that broke the camel's back for the Bubble Factory, the company that was owned by the former head of Universal, Sidney Sheinberg, because after this, he eventually went off with Sony Pictures, and his career didn't get any better than that. So, yeah, I don't like this movie at all. You can see why. It's a story that's been done to death so many times, and it's just like, it's not going to do anything different than what they're doing there. I'm just killing time right now, so that's For Richer or Poorer. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and you know what? For Richer or Poorer is actually looking a lot better than our next movie, which is Home Alone 3.
$1 million for the microchip, Mr. Beaupre.
We will find it. Their mission is deadly.
Has to be on a plane. We are going to Chicago.
Their technology is state-of-the-art.
26 miners in the 14 houses we haven't checked.
Their strategy is unheard of.
We're gonna work houses in broad daylight.
It's the suburbs. Nobody's home during the day.
They've got the perfect plan.
That's the house. Tomorrow we hit.
He's got the chicken pox.
What?
And he's home alone.
Nobody's gonna do anything about this. I'll just have to do it myself.
I'll go in the front.
Heads up! Bye. Surprise!
I'm coming down!
From John Hughes, the writer and producer of Home Alone.
See ya!
This Christmas, staying home will become an adventure. Again. Home Alone 3.
Wait till you see what I do next.
Written by John Hughes. Directed by Rysher.
Ah, yes, Home Alone 3. This is in my list of the worst movies I have ever seen. This is number 17 on the list of the worst movies I've ever seen. And I've said in the past, I've loved the other Home Alone movies. The first one is definitely the best film. Home Alone 2, at least, is trying to capture some of that same magic. It's not as good, but it's not terrible. And really, there's a lot of things that you could have done that was much more interesting for a third film with the original cast. You could have had a plot where, you know, Marv and Harry get out of prison again, and Kevin realizes they're out, and this time he convinces the rest of the family to help him defeat the burglars. Like, that would have been something that you could have easily done to give this series some new life to it. And I think they tried to do that in other sequels that came after this to not the best success. But then again, you didn't have the original cast there, and at least with that idea, you could have done something cool with it. But no, we have what I'd like to consider the awakening point of Raja Gosnell. The point when he realized his purpose as a director in life, because this is his first movie as a director after many years as an editor, working on the first two Home Alone movies, and more than likely, he was brought in to create a simple cash grab with no creativity or edge whatsoever, and Gosnell probably looked at this and said, wait, I can put zero effort into a movie and I can make money? I'm going to do this for the rest of my career, and lo and behold, Big Mama's House, Scooby-Doo 1 and 2, Yours, Mine, and Ours, Beverly Hills Chihuahua, The Smurfs 1 and 2. I mean, this dude clearly does not give a fuck about putting effort into any of his projects at all. And Home Alone 3 is where it all began. And don't get me wrong, Alex D. Linz, the kid is not a bad actor. He's actually gone on to do some pretty decent roles in films, including actually voicing Hey Arnold in Hey Arnold and Tarzan, young Tarzan in the Disney movie. And to his credit, he's not bad in this. He wasn't whiny or trying to be too cute like Jake Lloyd and Jingle All the Way was. But the kid was trying, and he didn't do too bad of a job. But again, he's no Macaulay Culkin. The bad guys in this movie are the worst. They really went all the way out to find the closest look-alike to the actors they wanted to get. Like, you could tell that Bill Preet was supposed to be Oliver Platt. Jernigan was supposed to be David Schwimmer. Unger was clearly supposed to be Adam Carolla. The other one that actually wasn't looking like he was trying to copy another actor was Alice, but I don't know. Maybe you could have probably put Linda Fiorentino in that mix in there. But besides that, these are supposed to be these terrorists, and were they terrorists? I mean, basically, yeah, they were terrorists, but they're intimidated by this kid, a kid with chickenpox, no less. And guess what the worst part is? These are 4 professionally trained terrorists, and yet they get their asses handed to them so easily by this kid with chickenpox. Like, you could believe that Kevin could beat up Marv and Harry, because those 2 robbers, they weren't the smartest people out there, although Harry does claim to be that way, but these 4, they were clearly shown to be much smarter than Martin and Harry, but they still got their ass beaten by this defenseless kid who was sick. And on top of that, these traps get way more elaborated and over the top than they needed to be. Like, you could take absurdity in a movie like this just fine, but even I have my breaking point with this. There are traps in this movie that are so elaborate, you really have to wonder to yourself, how the hell does this kid that has chickenpox have the will and ability to do this? There's no way this kid would clearly have A, enough energy, B, enough time, and 2, the muscle strength to actually do this, to pull the feats off that he does in this. Like, you see him moving trampolines over to pools, you see him with a bookcase full of books that he put up there, you see him making sure he has the ability to put 2 Mega Block bins full of super glue and a piece of wood and a mousetrap. It's just like, come on, man. Like that's just getting ridiculous on its own part. It's just like, and that leads me to the biggest problem with the movie overall, and the reason why I hate it so much. Everybody in this movie is stupid. Not just the bad guys, not just the parents, not just the brother and sisters, the FBI and the police too. Everybody in this movie is a fucking dumbass. You know, Alex does the smart thing in this movie by calling the police to report these terrorists breaking into these houses, and yet these terrorists manage to sneak their way out of the neighbors' houses like they are the Flash or Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, I swear, they must be ninjas in their off time. But after the first day, no cop ever goes, you know, maybe we should bring one of our officers out on the street here to keep an eye on the neighborhood. And just like, nope, just assume it's a prank by the kid with chickenpox because, oh, he's the run of the family, he's the youngest, he's the troublemaker, even though there's clearly nothing that shows beforehand why he's that way. Like, and then the second time it happens, he calls the police again, and once again, they do it. The bad guys get away so easily. Nobody sees them. No cameras around whatsoever. Clearly, this is a town that does not believe in being safe, apparently. And you know what happens? The cops don't believe him again. Even his asshole siblings, one of them being a young Scarlett Johansson, starts giving him shit. And it's just like, I'm sorry, but you cannot do that. Just because this kid is gravely sick, which, by the way, nice parenting by leaving the damn kid with chickenpox home on its own. That does not mean he's full of it when he's clearly seeing a robber going to somebody's house. But no, we have to do this because clearly if we don't, we wouldn't have a damn movie, and then who really wants to see a Home Alone sequel without the original cast or the original comedy or John Hughes at his finest? Because yes, this was when John Hughes was at the shit end of his career, and without the will to insult the audience's intelligence like this. Oh right, everybody's thinking that like Kevin was not the nice kid. Like, he could be a little bit of a dick, even though his family around him were being dickish to him. At the same time, though, like, when they realize that he's home alone and he's away from them, they still at least care about him. Like, in this movie, it just makes no sense at all. And don't even get me started on the animals they try to bring in as comic relief in here, like the back-talking pair that only quotes pop culture references. Like, literally, every single thing he says is a pop culture reference. And a mouse, because honestly, that would take me hours to tell you how bad that is, and we need to wrap this up. Oh, and there's a dog that does a little stupid move with where the cops come in, and there's a dog there, and the cops are just like, freeze, and the dog's just like, it's like with his paw up in the air. It's just like, get out of here with that. Like, Home Alone 3 is just an insult to everything that made the first two movies so special. They clearly had no intentions on making a good third movie for the series. It's made on the sole purpose to continue the franchise until this horse is long dead and willing to be beaten alive, which they have done. And, you know, the last couple of movies have been really, really bad, especially 4 and 5, but I'm one of the few people that says Home Sweet Home Alone is actually not that bad. It's not a great movie, but I will gladly take Home Sweet Home Alone after anything from 3, 4, or 5. Like, Home Alone 3 is just everything that's wrong with everything. It's everything that's wrong with kids' movies today. It's just lazy. The best word to describe that movie, laziness. It's uninventive, uninspired. It's a pale imitation of its predecessors. It's The Hangover Part 3 and Taken 3 of kids' movies. It's just so awful. I hate this movie so much. It's in my top 20 of the worst movies I've ever seen, and for good reason. So let's try to get back on a more positive note here. Here's Steven Spielberg's Amistad.
They were first detained by officers of the survey brig off the coast of Long Island to charge us murder. Immediately surrender these goods!
This is the most important case ever come before this court. Because what it in fact concerns is freedom, the very nature of man. And the proof is the length to which a man will go to regain his once state. He will break loose his chains. He will decimate his enemy. He will try and try and try against all odds, against all prejudices, to get home.
Morgan Freeman, Anthony Hopkins, Jaimin Hansu, Matthew McConaughey. A Steven Spielberg film. Amistad. Starts December 10th in select theaters, December 12th.
Okay, maybe it's not the best movie to follow it up with, but at least it's certainly a million times better than Home Alone 3 was. Amistad is based off the events of in 1839 aboard the Spanish slave ship La Amistad, during which Mende tribesmen are abducted for the slave trade, maintained to gain control of the capital ship off the coast of Cuba, and it follows the international legal battle that followed the capture by the Washington, a U.S. revenue cutter, and the case is ultimately resolved by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1841. You see the cast in there: Matthew McConaughey, Morgan Freeman, Anthony Hopkins, a breakout role by Jaimin Hansu, Pete Postlethwaite, Nigel Hawthorne, Chiwetel Ejiofor appears in this as in a cameo. This was Steven Spielberg's attempt to try to capture the same magic that Schindler's List did. I mean, he made this around the same time he made The Lost World Jurassic Park, and you know, the story was he made Jurassic Park and Schindler's List in the same year, and both those movies ended up great. And then you think maybe if Lost World wasn't that great of a movie, then surely Amistad's got to be the true masterpiece of the year, and not quite as much as I love Steven Spielberg. This is one of those films that's kind of on the same length as something like Empire of the Sun and Always. Not necessarily bad movies, but just movies that are not as good as some of his really, really great works here. I mean, this is still a really good movie, and I think it works mostly because of the cast that's involved here. Morgan Freeman, Anthony Hopkins, Matthew McConaughey, breakout performances for Djimon Hounsou and Chiwetel Ejiofor. But the story and the overall setup has been done to death. It's kind of a similar story we've seen over and over again, which I think is perfected a little bit better in something like 12 Years a Slave later on, which Ejiofor was in, that course. But as far as the film itself goes, it's fine for what it is. It's not a bad movie at all. Like, I wouldn't even go as far to say it's a terrible movie. It's still a really good film. But compared to what Spielberg has done that's been much better than this, you kind of expect a little bit more from him. And I think it works fine for what it is, but it definitely could have been a whole lot better. I think there could have been more to really give this an extra length, an extra push to really make this one of the best films of the year. But as it is, it's a really good, competently made Steven Spielberg movie. It's not one I'd watch over and over again, but I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I could say that Steven Spielberg still makes a decent film, even though this isn't one of his strongest films. It's still a very good, solidly made film. I just think it needed that one extra push to really push itself to become one of the year's best films. But as it is, it's okay for what it is, but definitely could have been a whole lot better. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is the hockey comedy Les Boys.
T'as pas encore gagné, mon baptême! T'as pas encore gagné, on est beaux à tempo! On est premiers sans rondelle! Faut surtout pas oublier de mettre la bière dans le frigidaire.
I thought this was a French comedy, but no, this is a Quebec-made comedy, which makes sense. French-Quebec, French-Canadian, like, I don't know what we're talking about now, but Les Boys, which is a sports comedy, which you can see is a sports comedy about ice hockey, and the story is that even ever wanted to know what guys say when they get together, this lighthearted comedy explores the male world through an amateur hockey team. Even every male stereotype is analyzed comically, of course, and that's pretty much all you can tell I've never seen this movie, and in fact, I never even knew that this was actually a series of films, because they made 3 sequels to this, and it was actually one of the most successful Canadian-made series of all time, and I'd never even heard of it. But then again, if we here in America probably don't even know if these movies even exist, and even though I don't know, I don't know if it's available on Blu-ray out there, but I'm sure if you go online, you could stream it somewhere. I don't know. Like I said, I really do not know anything about this. I mean, it looks funny. It looks like a 90s equivalent to something like Slapshot with Paul Newman, but like I said, I don't really know for certain because I've never seen it. I don't really know if it's any good or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not decent. It looks kind of funny, so yeah, that's pretty much all I know about this one, unfortunately. So that's Les Boys. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, and that is Woody Allen's latest film, Deconstructing Harry.
Seller about his best friends.
You told our whole story.
But when you kiss and tell,
If you want to shoot me, shoot me!
you go to hell.
Pause this. Serial killers, lawyers who appear on television.
Demi Moore, Judy Davis, Kirstie Alley, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Woody Allen, and Billy Crystal.
You want me to turn on the air conditioner?
You an air conditioner here?
Sure, it messes up the ozone layer.
Deconstructing Harry. Rated R.
So Woody Allen plays Harry Block, a well-regarded novelist whose tendency to thinly veil his own experiences in his work, as well as his unapologetic attitude and his proclivity for pills and whores, has left him with 3 ex-wives that hate him, and he's about to be honored for his writing by the college that expelled him. He faces a writer's block, the impending marriage of his latest flame to a writer friend, and scenes from his stories and novels pass and interact with him. He faces the people whose lives he's affected, wives, lovers, his son, his sister. It's a Woody Allen movie. It is what you get here, and like really big cast in this one too. I mean, Kirstie Alley again, Bob Balaban, Richard Benjamin, Eric Bogosian, Billy Crystal, Judy Davis, Mario Hemingway, Amy Irving, Julie Kavner, Eric Lloyd, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Tobey Maguire, Demi Moore, Elizabeth Shue, Stanley Tucci, Robin Williams, Philip Bosco, Jennifer Garner, Viola Harris, Paul Giamatti, Arden Marine. Like this is a stacked cast for this movie, and the movie basically is just kind kind of a remake of Stardust Memories, which is pretty much kind of the same plot. Stardust Memories I don't think worked too well, but it was right at peak Woody Allen. I think it worked a lot better than something like this. This is still not a bad movie. I'd probably put this in the same category as something like what we just talked about with Amistad, a movie that it's good, but you know this guy could do a whole lot better as a filmmaker. This is not one of Woody Allen's best movies overall, but it does have some good ideas to it. It has some good elements of comedy and good storytelling. And it's, like I said, it's Woody Allen doing what Woody Allen does best. I mean, this is what you expect when you see a film by him, and it's, for the most part, it does work very well here. It's definitely not one of his strongest films, but it is a film that is very well enjoyable. It's a film that, if you know what Woody Allen usually does with films like this, then you more than likely get enjoyment out of it. I know what Woody Allen does. I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie here, and that is Hugo Pool.
What does this phalloid have that I don't have?
Me. Hugo Pool.
I mean, Hugo Pool is a quirky tale of a Los Angeles pool cleaner played by Alyssa Milano, I should say, who falls in love with this young man who's dying of Lou Gehrig's disease, played by Robert Downey Jr., which, 1997 is probably not the best year for him because he has ALS in this movie, Lou Gehrig's disease, and then a month ago we looked at One Night Stand where he dies of AIDS. It's just like, yeah, this is not his year. But then again, this was when it comes to that. But then again, Robert Downey Jr. was in the midst of his serious drug addiction at this point. And you can tell from those clips there, he's thin, pale, sickly, and he delivers his lines in bursts of manic energy. And you definitely see it in even in that little clip there. But in the full trailer, you see that in full force. And stacked cast again: Alyssa Milano, Patrick Dempsey, Kathy Moriarty, Robert Downey Jr., Richard Lewis, Malcolm McDowell, Sean Penn. I mean, a phenomenal cast in here. But I don't really know too much about this movie. I don't know if it's any good, but from the clips that I've seen, just from that trailer alone, I don't know. I don't know if it's probably one I really need to see. And the reviews for it have not been the strongest. But directed by I don't know if I mentioned it, but it's directed by Robert Downey Jr.'s father, Robert Downey Sr., who also did stuff like Putney Swope, Pound, Up the Academy. Like, he did all these other movies. And he did a really good documentary a couple of years ago before he died with Robert Downey Jr. I think it was Senior is what it was called. And it's actually really good. It came out on Netflix not too long ago, and I definitely recommend checking that out. But as far as this goes, I don't know if it's any good or not, so I don't know if I really want to rush out and see it. Maybe if I find it somewhere at a decent price, I'm not spending a whole lot of money on it, I probably could watch it, but I have no real interest in watching it right now. So that's Hugo Pool.
Iceberg, right ahead! Nothing prepared you for Titanic.
I want to go.
20th Century Fox and Paramount Pictures present Leonardo DiCaprio.
We have to stay on the ship as long as possible.
Kate Winslet.
You jump high, jump low.
From James Cameron. Director of T2 and True Lies. Titanic, rated PG-13. Starts Friday, December 19th at theaters everywhere.
Yeah. No lasting impact whatsoever. I mean, it's a film that barely made any real attention back then. Nobody really went to go see it. It was a big bomb. It made over the budget was $200 million. I mean, nobody really went to, okay, I'm going to stop this right now because you know what because really, do I need to say anything more about this movie? It's friggin' Titanic, man. Yeah, Titanic, everything I just told you was a complete lie. I mean, this was a film that not only was a huge hit, like it was a film that was in the top position at the box office for several months, and made over $1 billion. It was the first film ever to reach the $1 billion mark. It swept the Academy Awards, winning 11 Oscars, including Best Director and Best Picture. It tied Ben-Hur for the most Oscars won for a film. It made stars out of Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. It had a huge budget behind it, and that's probably the only real interesting thing I could say about the production of this, because this thing started shooting all the way back in 1995. It took them almost 3 years to get this movie into theaters, and this movie was supposed to be released in the summer of 1997. In fact, you see posters online where it has the original summer 1997 date on there, because it was supposed to come out on July 2nd, 1997. I guess maybe to try to do what they did with Independence Day the year before, because this is a co-production of 20th Century Fox, and technically it's now considered a co-production of Disney, too, so... But got pushed back. There was a lot of backlash, actually, behind the scenes before this movie came out. I mean, when you really think about it, think about what this movie had to deal with. The movie had to be pushed back big time. The effects weren't ready. The film was using these massive amounts of production material, scale models, CGI. I mean, they like I said, they began shooting this movie all the way back in 1995, almost 3 years before the thing actually came out. And so nowadays, when you have a movie like this that's been in production hell for a number of years, most of the time it's not going to end up being any good. Like, most of the time it doesn't make the money back that it should. Case in point, we just had with The Flash, all that built up they had for that film, and the film turned out to be a major disaster for Warner Brothers. And some would have said that this movie could have been a major disaster for Paramount and 20th Century Fox. I mean, this is a film that, thank God social media wasn't around back then, because they would have trashed this movie before it even came out. This movie would not be the substantial hit that it is now if social media had existed back then, which it didn't. And you know what? Even at the beginning, when it started making its money, it did not do gangbuster business at first. It made, I think, $28 million on its opening weekend. But for a film that had a $200 million budget, that's not the best way to start off the film. But start off your gross when you're trying to make this money back. But as time went on, Titanic slowly but surely began to increase its popularity. I mean, it stayed, like I said, it stayed as the #1 movie at the box office for about 4 months. I mean, it didn't really lose its mark until April of 1998 when Lost in Space came out. I think that's what it was. Let me just double checking here just to make sure. Yeah, April 1998 when Lost in Space came out. And you know, the film benefited first off by having the Christmas holiday come up after that. I mean, it made almost half of, it made an additional half more than what the first weekend was. It gained 23% of an audience the following week, and then only had like small drop-offs, like a 6% drop-off, a 13% drop-off, a 15% drop-off. Its biggest drop-off really did not happen until, let me see if I can find it here, well into September. I mean, this thing was like, the biggest drop it had was 79% on September 4th, 1998, and by that point, the movie had already been out on videotape at that point. So, yeah, this film was a real game changer for a number of reasons. I mean, this is a film that really, showed that just because a movie doesn't open big the first time around doesn't mean you should consider it dead on arrival. And lo and behold, that's what happened with this film. And I keep talking about the box office, but what about the movie itself? I will say this, though. I like the movie. I don't love it, though. I mean, it goes back to when I first saw this movie in theaters when I was about, I think this might have been around the time when my 9th birthday was coming up on January 10th of that year in 98. And we went to go see the movie, and I was really bored by the first half of it, honestly. I was really watching this movie, and I'm thinking to myself, when is this damn ship gonna get hit by the iceberg already? Because I want to see the fun stuff here. And, you know, as a kid, I'm just like, yeah, I'm not really interested in this relationship between Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. I mean, I don't think that I'm a 9-year-old kid. I want to see action. I want to see. It's like I watch Ninja Turtles as I watch Ninja Turtles for a living. I want to see the action here. Damn it! And sure enough, when I saw the ship get hit, and the rest of the movie is the ship slowly but surely going into the ocean with people falling off and dying and all that, I was just like, okay. Now you won me back. You won me back over. And that's really the best thing I remembered about that movie, seeing it for the first time when I was 9 years old. I've, of course, seen this movie a lot since then. It's been on TV numerous times. I mean, I have it on video. I have it on DVD. I have it on Blu-ray. I will say this, though. I didn't like the relationship between the romantic storyline between Winslet and DiCaprio when I was a kid. As an adult, I have slowly but surely gone to coming back around to it. I do think it is very well done. It works because you have Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet working off of each other really well here. Like I said, these were two actors who, this movie really branched them out into superstardom at this point. I mean, this was a film that really launched their careers big time, and they were really good in the movie. They both had a great chemistry together. You really did buy into their storyline, their relationship, and it was a very entertaining film. It was a very entertaining relationship, I should say, and great cast overall here. I mean, Billy Zane is so cartoonishly over the top in this film, but at the same time, you can't help but love him for it. I mean, the guy puts his all into this, even though he's acting off of his over the top. Like, he's still one of the fun things about the movie overall. Like, like the overall storyline before we hit the iceberg still is not the strongest. I think the main thing that's holding it together is the relationship between Winslet and DiCaprio. Like, you believe their relationship and you want it to succeed, but we know that now from history that does not happen. And of course I thought for the shipwreck, I thought maybe these effects were going to be dated by the time I watched it again, but no, every time I watch it, I still feel like I'm that kid again, watching it in theaters for the first time, just like, wow, this is impressive stuff. Like, the CGI in this movie holds up really well here, and the tension that builds as the ship is slowly but surely going down. You're seeing people trying to get off on the rescue boats, and some of them don't make it, some of them fall to their deaths, they slide down the thing as it's sliding down. The ship coming apart is still very tense. I mean, everybody falling off the ship one by one as the ship is slowly but surely going down. I mean, it still affects you. It still is a very effective element of the film, and that's really why I keep going back to it. I mean, I really want to say, I like seeing that part again. It's a film that really does hold up after all these years, and it's just something that really makes this movie stand out as memorable to me. Like, this one, it's like the film overall is a very good film. It's not a completely perfect film. It's not a great film story-wise, but overall, the film itself, all around, it's a very entertaining movie. I think it works in the first half for just Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio's story alone. But the real stuff is in the second half of the movie, when you see the ship slowly but surely going into the ocean. Like, that, to me, still holds up very well. And if I had to choose between this and the one that they did back in the 50s, now I can't remember the name of it, A Night to Remember, which came out in the 1950s, 1958 to be precise. And to me, that's the superior Titanic movie to me. A Night to Remember, you can look at it and see it. It's slow-paced, quiet, doesn't get really intense or engaging until about halfway through the iceberg hits. I'm thinking of Titanic, but the James Cameron Titanic movie, the tension and thrill really gets going almost immediately after the iceberg hits. And with A Night to Remember, there is more of a sense of this historical accuracy to what happened the night the Titanic sunk, while the Cameron film tries to play more of the romantic aspect between DiCaprio and Winslet, but still tries to keep most of the historical aspects in check. Despite the two major differences are the effects, for obvious reasons. You know, A Night to Remember came out in 1958, and it pales, the ship going down pales in comparison to the effects in the original Titanic, but in the Titanic movie, I should say. But there were still some pretty solid effects to make it look like the ship is tipping everywhere with no CG whatsoever. I mean, for 1958, these are some really impressive effects. I mean, the Cameron movie has the benefit of going for a mix of practical and CG to make the sinking more epic, but if you're wondering why the ship breaks into two is in the original Night to Remember, it wasn't revealed until well after that movie came out that the ship broke into two and it was sinking. So it's really interesting that no one ever talks about that movie, but Titanic is a good movie. I personally myself don't think it's the classic that everybody makes it out to be. I think the romantic aspect is kind of the weakest part about it, despite Winslet and DiCaprio working off each other. The film doesn't really get going for me until the iceberg hits the ship, and the tension and thrill factor comes into play as the ship slowly but surely sinks into the abyss. And I think A Night to Remember is the far superior film. It's a shorter movie. The characters, I think, are much better. The story works much smoother. The effects still hold up very well here. I think it deserves a lot more attention. I guarantee people will find more to like about that movie than they would with James Cameron's movie. Not to say that Titanic is bad, but if I had to be asked, I would rather take A Night to Remember than Titanic. At least that's my personal take on it. So, but regardless, Titanic is a classic. It's a good film, but I think it gets better once the iceberg hits, and that's where the tension really begins. So I went a little bit long on that one, but it's Titanic. You can't blame me for that. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. The movie that dared to go up against Titanic. Actually, they probably thought they would beat Titanic with all the negative buzz that was coming out before it. Pierce Brosnan in the second James Bond movie, Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yesterday is a memory. Today is history. Tomorrow is in the hands of one man.
Bond. You know the rest.
Yeah, MGM basically thought that Titanic was going to crash and burn at the box office and nobody was going to go see it. But, yeah, it opened up on the same day that Titanic did and led into the box office numbers, not getting anywhere near close to what Titanic ended up with. Even though it was pretty close on that opening weekend, just $3 million was the difference between Titanic and Tomorrow Never Dies at the top 2 spots at the box office. But other than that, though, I think the movie as a whole is a step down compared to GoldenEye. At the same time, it's not a bad movie. It's just kind of underwhelming. It does have some impressive action sequences. Terry Hatcher and Michelle Yeoh at their hottest in this movie. I mean, good lord. You see, pretty good music in here. The opening song by Sheryl Crow is very good. Everything else is kind of lackluster. The bad guy is basically just Steve Jobs. The guy's literally Steve Jobs mixing in with the beat of the media mogul that is Donald Trump. And he really is just a corny and predictable villain. He's not a great villain overall. Although I will say he has one of the most badass death scenes in the movie, where James Bond is because the whole thing about him is that he's a media mogul. Like, he's a power-hungry media mogul he's a main company man behind newspapers. You could say that he's kind of a parallel to somebody like Rupert Murdoch, or somebody that is like someone like that. And the way he dies in this movie, at the end of the movie, it's hilarious, and it's also pretty damn grisly too. Like, James Bond is like pulling on his shirt, and he's like, "You forgot the first rule of mass media, Elliot." And this thing that's like the dude's got this drilling machine, and he's trying to destroy Bond with that, and James Bond is just like, give the people what they want. And he's pushing the media mogul, the bad guy, into this thing, and the guy's just sitting there going, no, and like you could move too. Like, James Bond gets quickly off screen, and the guy just dies after that. Like, it's so over the top, it's so intense, and it's so violent. But goddamn, man, that's probably one of my favorite aspects about the movie, is the way the villain dies in that film. And it's interesting too, because the main villain dies before the other villains do. Like, it's very, very interesting. And this is a big step in the right direction for this director, who also did the infamous Stop on My Mom Will Shoot. I mean, talk about a 5-year difference between directing one of the worst comedies ever made to directing a James Bond movie. So hey, as Kevin Garnett used to say, anything is possible. So, but even the plot for the bad guy to take over the world is really weak. It suffers from really having a bad story, and it's just so lazy in the story department. Tomorrow Never Dies is a movie that just feels rushed in the story and in the villain department, but still gets by somewhat by its action scenes, that death scene at the end, and the 3 main lead characters. It's not a bad movie per se, but it isn't a great one either. I'd say watch it at your own risk. It's probably good for a one-time watch, but other than that, yeah, I wouldn't go back and watch it over and over again. So, anyway, that is Tomorrow Never Dies, so let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Mouse Hunt.
Late one night, as it must to all men, death came to the old man. To his 2 sons, he left this house. But behind this door, inside these walls, someone watches. He sees all. He knows your fear. Because in this house, he's the big cheese. From DreamWorks comes a story of 2 men, a house, and a mouse. Wrong mouse.
I just want to warn you about this mouse.
I know how to beat them.
I don't think we'll be seeing any more of that.
Mouse Hunt.
We need a cat. I'm talking one mean pussy.
Yeah.
Another one of DreamWorks' early films that came out in 1997, just a couple months after the studio released their first film, The Peacemaker, and this is their first major kids film with Nathan Lane, Lee Evans, and directed by Gore Verbinski in his feature film directorial debut. And the film basically follows Lane and Evans are basically 2 Laurel and Hardy-esque like brothers, and their struggle against one small but crafty house mouse for possession of the mansion, which is willed by their father, and this is played by William Hickey, who died before this movie came out. Of course, William Hickey, you will know him from stuff like Edward Scissorhands. Was it Kiss of the Spider Woman he was in that he got the Oscar for? Prizzi's Honor, I'm thinking of something else. Prizzi's Honor, but most of you know him as Uncle Lewis from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and the Doctor from A Night Before Christmas. But as far as Mouse Hunt goes, this is a really damn funny movie. I mean, this is basically a live-action Looney Tunes cartoon meets with a live-action Tom and Jerry cartoon, and mixed it with a little bit of Home Alone. This was the better Home Alone movie that came out in 1997, and not Home Alone 3. And that should really tell you everything you need to know about this movie. I mean, it's a slick, funny comedy. They know they're not taking themselves way too seriously, and you do feel for the mouse in this movie. Like there's a part of the movie that you see a little bit in the trailer there, where the mouse has this nice little home within the walls of his house, and you know he's going to sleep, everything's okay, and then all of a sudden this giant nail gun is like threatening to take his life, and he's running for his life. And it's just like, that's a pretty intense scene, and you feel bad for this mouse at times in this movie. But actually, but the movie overall, you feel bad for pretty much everybody at some point in this film. Like, it's a really funny movie. It's a little bit too dark at times, but sometimes it goes. You need to take full advantage to go completely dark on something. Like, this is a fun movie, man. I just love this movie so much. I love the jokes in here. I thought it was very funny. I thought it was very creative. I thought the effects overall did a pretty good job. I mean, for $38 million, this doesn't look too bad, especially nowadays. I mean, I don't think you can do half the stuff now without having a bigger budget than that. I mean, maybe 3 times that budget at least. But it just depends on how you use it, probably too. So, but yeah, the movie is very funny. It shows what Gore Verbinski can do as a director. Written by Adam Rifkin, who's written a lot of good stuff. Christopher Walken has a role in here as well. It's just a really funny movie, man. It's just a movie that I watched it the first time, and I had no idea what I was going in for, but I laughed a lot, especially towards the end of the movie. It's really hilarious stuff. Like, I can't recommend this movie enough. Mouse Hunt, great movie. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. You're doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing so. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last movie. Robert Redford in an Oscar-winning... See, I did it again. Robert Duvall, not Robert Redford, Robert Duvall in an Oscar-nominated performance in The Apostle.
Duvall, Academy Award nominee for Best Actor of the Year. In the role America's top critics are calling one of the 10 greatest performances of all time.
What should I do? Tell me.
Feel the power of The Apostle. 4 stars. Amazing. Miraculous. A triumph. Robert Duvall, Farrah Fawcett, and Billy Bob Thornton. Don't miss the Academy Award contender that's nothing short of astonishing. The Apostle.
Coming soon to theaters everywhere.
So not only does Robert Duvall star in this movie, he also writes and directs it, and he plays a preacher from Texas who's got a happy life with a beautiful wife, played by Farrah Fawcett, but suddenly his world crumbles as his wife is having an affair with this young minister. Sonny gets enraged and hits Horace with a softball bat, putting him into a coma. He leaves town, takes on a new name as Apostle E.F., and goes to Louisiana. Then he starts to work as a mechanic for a local radio station owner, and he lets him preach on the radio and starts to preach everywhere, on the radio, on the streets, and with his new friend, Reverend Brackwell, he starts a campaign to renovate an old church. And it seems kind of preachy. It seems like the church equivalent to something like Tender Mercies, which he won the Oscar for. He was nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor in this movie as well. But it is a very entertaining film, and it works because Duvall is giving it his all in the film. And I think there's a great cast to support the material here. Farrah Fawcett, Miranda Richardson, Walton Goggins, June Carter, Billy Bob Thornton. I mean, there's a great cast involved in this film, and it's a very entertaining film. It's a very compelling story that you get invested in, and you do wonder how it's going to pan out when it's all said and done. And I think they did a very good job on it, honestly. I think it's a really solid film. It shows what Robert Duvall can do as a director and a writer as well. I think he has a lot of good potential there, and I don't know if he did anything else after this. Actually, he did a couple other movies that I'm not too familiar with. Assassination Tango and Wild Horses. But like I said, I don't know too much about those films, so I don't know if they're any good or not, but this one actually is. I'd definitely recommend it, The Apostle.
Open his furnace for him so he can see God's beautiful work. And he'll know that even things like this happen for the best.
Or do they teach you to talk like this in some Panama City sailor want a hump bar? Sell crazy someplace else. We're all stocked up here. TriStar Pictures invites you
to meet a truly appalling individual.
He's a freak show. He's the worst person I ever met.
If you want to see me, you want to make an appointment. Dr. Green, how can you diagnose someone as an obsessive-compulsive disorder and then act as though I had some choice about barging in?
You have messed your last.
Have you seen my dog with a little face?
Uh-oh.
You have no idea what your work means to me. How do you write women so well?
I think of a man, and I take away reason and accountability.
Hold it! Wait! Shut up, kids!
Definitely a package you don't want to open or touch.
Pay me a compliment, Melvin. I need one. Quick.
You make me want to be a better man.
That's maybe the best compliment of my life.
From Academy Award winner James L. Brooks.
Well, maybe I overshot a little because I was angry just enough to keep you from walking out.
Comes a story about how the people you can't live with,
Carol the waitress, Simon the fag,
become the people you can't live without.
We all have these terrible stories to get over, and
It's not true. Some of us have great stories, pretty stories that take place at lakes with boats and friends and noodle salad. Just no one in this car. Jack Nicholson, Helen Hunt, Greg Kinnear, and Cuba Gooding Jr.
I love you.
I tell you, buddy, I'd be the luckiest guy alive if that did it for me.
As good as it gets.
I mean, the trailer there pretty much shows you everything you need to know about this movie. Jack Nicholson plays a cranky, bigoted, obsessive-compulsive writer who finds his life turned upside down when his neighboring gay artist friend, Simon, played by Greg Kinnear, is hospitalized and his dog is entrusted to him. In addition, he has this waitress named Carol, played by Helen Hunt, who will tolerate him. She has to leave work to care for her sick son, making it impossible for Melvin to eat his breakfast. And it's a very simplistic story, honestly. There's nothing too crazy going on with the overall story and all, but really, it's more than enough here to really get the gist of what this movie is all about. It's a very well-made film that mostly works because of the performances of the leading actors. I mean, Jack Nicholson, like I said, he won an Academy Award for this. I mean, this is his third Oscar he ever won, and rightfully so. He really makes this character work on his own, and it's Jack Nicholson being Jack Nicholson. That's usually the best thing you can ask for a guy like him. Helen Hunt, who also won an Oscar for this, I mean, this really showed everybody that, hey, this is not just somebody who just does Mad About You every week. This is a really good actress, and she really gives it her all here. She has great chemistry with Nicholson. She controls the screen very well here. Like, she has to compete with Jack Nicholson in several scenes in this movie, keep up with him, and she does a very good job with that. And I think this movie also showed everybody that Greg Kinnear is a really good actor too. Like, this is a film where he got nominated for an Oscar for this. He didn't win, but he's very good in the movie playing Simon. This is a great cast overall. You see Cuba Gooding Jr. there. You have Skeet Ulrich, Shirley Knight, Garley Smith, Harold Ramis, Julie Benz, Brian Doyle Murray, Jamie Kennedy, Maya Rudolph's in here as well. It's interesting because another interesting thing about the movie is that Owen Wilson actually served as an associate producer on here, which was actually one of his first jobs in Hollywood, even though he had done Bottle Rocket the year before. But it's pretty interesting to note on that front. But and it's interesting too because Nicolas Cage. What am I even doing here? Jack Nicholson, far different from Nicolas Cage. Actually, now that I think about it, probably not really. But the interesting thing about this is that Jack Nicholson and James L. Brooks, they actually clashed on set multiple times regarding how Nicholson should portray this character. It actually led to a halt in the production for the two to basically find the right tone for the character, and it paid off for him. I mean, he's got a third Oscar now because of this. This is also a film that also has the great score by Hans Zimmer, another film that got him an Oscar nomination for original score. Really, there's not much more I can say about the movie. I will say that it's not anything too groundbreaking. It's not anything too unique or interesting. But overall, I thought the movie works very well because of the performances, because of the direction by James L. Brooks. This is his first film that he had done as a director since Broadcast News. And no, actually, I take that back. That was this is the first one he's done since I'll Do Anything, which was not a big hit. It was a big critical and commercial disaster for him. But this was a nice return to form for him. It takes you back to what... It's not as good as some of his other movies, but it takes you back to, like, Terms of Endearment and Broadcast News, and it's a very good, well-made film. I mean, I can't recommend this movie enough already. You should be watching this movie just for the performances alone. Jack Nicholson's great, Helen Hunt's great, Greg Kinnear's great. The story overall is very simple. It does not overstay its welcome, and it's a very well-done film. It's a film that works on a number of levels. It's a well-made film. I can't recommend it enough. As good as it gets. It's as good as it gets. No title intended. Not title pun intended, but let's go ahead and move on to the next movie here, and it's probably the best movie that we'll cover today, at least in my opinion. And it's a classic movie, Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown.
Settle and action. Pam Grier is
Jackie Brown.
Pam Grier is
Jackie Brown.
Pamela Grier is
Jackie Brown.
Here we go.
Ever been tempted?
AK-47, when you absolutely, positively got to kill every mother in the room, except no substitutes.
I mean, like I said before, man, this goes back and forth between this and Pulp Fiction as my all-time favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. I mean, it really does go back and forth. One day it's Pulp Fiction, one day it's Jackie Brown. Right? I give the edge a little bit to Jackie Brown now because it just made me realize how good of a director Quentin Tarantino really was and how just immersive he can be as a filmmaker, which Pulp Fiction really did impress me a lot, but this is a movie that I always go back to more than I would ever say about Pulp Fiction. And I do go back to Pulp Fiction a lot, but Jackie Brown I go back to a little bit more. As you can tell, Pam Grier stars as Jackie Brown, the stewardess who smuggles money from Mexico to Los Angeles for this arms dealer played by Samuel L. Jackson. And when she gets caught by these agents, one of them played by Michael Keaton with $10,000 in cocaine in her purse, they propose a deal to her to help them arrest Ordell in exchange for freedom. Meanwhile, Ordell's asking this 56-year-old man, bail bondsman played by Robert Forster, to release Jackie Brown with the intentions of eliminating her. And Jackie suspects Ordell's intentions and plots this complicated confidence game with Max to steal $500,000 from Ordell. And you know, the cast, I mentioned Samuel L. Jackson, I mentioned Robert Forster, Michael Keaton. I haven't mentioned Robert De Niro or Bridget Fonda in this movie, who I think are both very good as well, but this movie is mainly a star showcase to show how good Robert Forster and Pam Grier are. I mean, these are two phenomenal performances, and they revitalized both the careers of these two actors who hadn't been cast in a lead role in a many number of years. Pam Grier was in a lot of blaxploitation films, and it's the only feature-length film that he's ever adapted from another person's work, as this is based off of a book by Elmore Leonard, which, incidentally, the Michael Keaton character is actually a character that also appears in another Elmore Leonard-inspired production, Out of Sight, which came out the following year, and I thought that was pretty interesting, considering that's from another studio. But I love Jackie Brown, man. I love this movie so much. I think it's a well-made film. It works mostly because of Pam Grier and Robert Forster. These are two very strong performances that carry the movie over. And you really do realize that these two are incredible actors that deserve a lot more attention. They also have a great cast around them. As I mentioned, Jackson, Fonda, Keaton, De Niro, Michael Bowen, Chris Tucker, Lisa Gay Hamilton, Tiny Lister, Hattie Winston, Denise Crosby, Takia Crystal Kama from In Living Color. There's a cameo by Tony Curtis in this movie. The film just looks incredible. It's a well-edited film. The comedy is top-notch. The storytelling is well done. I just love this movie, man. I love this movie so much. Like I said, I go back and forth between this and Pulp Fiction as my favorite Tarantino movie, and really, you can see why. It's an amazing film with some great performances all around, some great elements of enjoyment out of every single level of it, but I love it, man. I love this movie so much. I don't think I need to say anything more that hasn't been said already. Jackie Brown is just a fantastic film. I enjoy it. It's one of my favorite movies of the year of 1997. If you have not seen it, please go out and see it, because you will not be disappointed by it at all. So with that said, we've had a couple of good movies. Now let's get to the stinkers, because there's a couple of them here. And here's a stinker that you probably may not remember, but once you see the trailer for it, you're going to wish you remembered it. And not in a good way. It's an American Werewolf in Paris.
On his first trip to Paris, Andy McDermott is looking for a little danger.
Andy, what you doing? I'll show you guys a stunt you'll never top.
But tonight,
Andy, this is madness. You're gonna get yourself killed.
there's nothing more dangerous than falling for the wrong girl.
No, don't! Talk about the woman of my dreams. She's obviously whack. The kind of girl jumps off the Eiffel Tower has issues, man. Major issues.
We mustn't get involved. It's much too dangerous, believe me. We must go before it's too late.
Now's the time. Whether it's the big, wild dog. You were big. You're already changing.
It was not a dog. It was a werewolf. And now you have become one too.
Not a wolf.
American Werewolf in Paris.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was supposed to be scared by that. Let me do that again. Oh no, this woman's gonna need a huge-ass bikini wax to get rid of all that hair. God, this movie is awful, and you don't even need me to tell you about it. John Landis can tell you straight up how bad this movie is, because he was really disappointed by this film. In fact, this was actually based off of an idea that he had for a sequel back in 1991. It was basically a character that was mentioned in the original film, but never seen or heard. She gets a job in London, and her subsequent investigation into the deaths of the two characters in that movie, and that was supposed to be part of that, and several characters from the original film were supposed to return for that, but the studio turned down the script, and they still wanted to do a sequel, but Landis didn't want to make a sequel, so they basically just said do it without him, and lo and behold, we get this, and this is an unbelievable mess of a film. I mean, my God. I mean, do I even need to tell you why? Just the concepts alone are so ridiculous. It was like the dude's bungee jumping off of the Eiffel Tower. That was already stupid enough. We haven't even gotten to the actual creature yet. And CG, all CG, because you know what made The American Werewolf in London in the original such a great movie? CG. No, actually it did not. It was because it used practical effects that are still effective even for over 40 years later, and these things were almost dead on arrival. I mean, this whole movie is a clusterfuck. This is a movie that is just a mess on so many levels. It's just like, whoever wrote this movie, whoever put this together, just hated it, just wanted to do something that was not intentionally scary whatsoever. It wasn't intended to be clever. It wasn't intended to be funny. It wasn't intended to be smart or anything like the original. It's because the original American Werewolf in London still holds up to this very day. The horror elements still hold up. The practical effects are still effective even after all these years. The comedy is well put in there, even despite the fact that it's a straight up horror movie. But then again, that's why you have John Landis there at his peak. But this is just a nightmare on so many levels. This is a film that is just a huge, huge mess, with the wasted talents of Tom Everett Scott from That Thing You Do and Julie Delpy from the B4 series. Like, Julie Delpy's at least trying in this film. But even then, she just can't save it, man. And don't even get me started on the CG in here. The CG is just abysmal. I mean, the CG as a whole is just terrible. And I'm sorry, you're never going to be able to top the practical effects that they did back in the 1980s. I'm not just talking about with American Werewolf in London. I'm talking about with other movies. The Howling, which, you know what? The Howling had a better representation of what this movie was trying to do. This one has good ideas, but just bad execution. But if you want to see this kind of a story done well with a female werewolf, watch The Howling from 1981, directed by Joe Dante. That's a better representation of what this movie was trying to be than this film. This film is a complete insult to the original American Werewolf in London, and it's an insult for the studio, for Disney, who put this out. I mean, This is a studio that thought that saw Scream do success so well last year in '96. They said, you know what, we're going to put another horror movie out there because clearly the demand is there, even though Scream was a lightning in a bottle moment and Scream 2 was another success. But horror movies do not do well over Christmas. I don't understand why people don't do that, because this is not the first time this has happened, nor will it be the last time that this happens. And, I mean, really, do I need to say anything more about this movie? It's a terrible, terrible movie. It's a bad movie. Avoid it like the plague. An American Werewolf in Paris, just avoid it like the plague. Plain and simple. So, with that said, on to our next movie, and that is Kevin Costner in The Postman. Yes, the post-apocalyptic future of 2013. Yeah, way to date stamp that real quickly, Kevin. You know what? I think The Simpsons pretty much said everything you need to know about this movie.
Ooh, I hear this really sucks. Director's commentary.
I'm sorry. I am really sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. But, Field of Dreams was good, wasn't it? Made us all believe again.
Oh, poor Mr. Costner. He tries so hard.
Aw, thanks. You're sweet to say that.
Where are you?
I'm back here. Hi. Will you bring me a sandwich? Please? No crusts.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell Kevin Costner was thinking with this movie. This is not a good movie whatsoever. It's an over 3-hour movie that is completely pointless. It's a dull movie. It's a boring movie. You thought Waterworld was bad? This is the worst thing Kevin Costner has ever done as a filmmaker. This is a movie that is just... It's just a mess, man. It's just a mess on so many levels. It's a film that's just awful, uninspired, unwatchable. It's a film that has two good writers on it, Eric Roth and Brian Helgeland. Brian Helgeland just wrote L.A. Confidential, and this is the end result of it. What more do I got to say? This is a terrible movie. This is a movie that The Simpsons pretty much summed it up nicely for you, but... yeah, thank God Kevin Costner's done a whole lot better since this, because this is a film that probably would have killed his career if he had just stopped right here. And yeah, I think we're done here. Let's go ahead and move on to our next misfire of this holiday weekend, and that is Leslie Nielsen in Disney's Mr. Magoo.
It was the worst jewel heist in history. And the only witness to the crime didn't see a thing. Now, Mr. Magoo is going undercover, but he doesn't have a clue.
Magoo is going down!
I want you to put some water on the boil and lift both legs high into the air. And sand that sucker smooth.
I have a surprise.
So do I!
This Christmas, you won't believe your eyes.
Ugliest child I've ever seen.
Leslie Nielsen.
Ooh, I got eyes straight!
Disney's Mr. Magoo.
Would you believe that this is the same director that gave us Jackie Chan's First Strike? And again, this is another movie that Disney... This was part of that live-action doll spot that they were in during 1997 and 98, and this is just coming after Flubber, and how do you mess this up? You have such a good idea to it. A Mr. Magoo movie with Leslie Nielsen as the title character. It's co-written by one of the guys who did The Naked Gun, who would work with Leslie Nielsen again the following year in a far superior comedy, Wrongfully Accused. And this is about as lame as it gets. This is about as lame, as pathetic, as unfunny. Like, it's like the people who made this movie never saw the cartoon and just read a synopsis online and said, okay, we've got a good idea of who this character is. We don't even need to watch the cartoons to see if this is we're missing anything important here or not. And you miss a lot here. And the jokes are not funny. The rest of the people in this movie aren't funny. The humor is lazy. The script writing is lazy. Everything about this movie is just lazy. Lazy, lazy, lazy on so many levels. This is a film that could have been great. Like, you could have had a really good movie with this, and this is what you get. This is what you get in return from it. Like, so much good talent wasted here. Not just Leslie Nielsen, Kelly Lynch, Stephen Tobolowsky, Ernie Hudson, Jennifer Gardner, Malcolm McDowell, Miguel Ferrer, and Frank Welker among the cast in this movie. And this is what we get. This is just a sloppy movie, just a perfect definition of what Disney's live-action film department was like during this time period. And unfortunately, it gets worse from there. It gets absolutely worse from there. And hard to believe that, but it's true. So let's end this on a much better note, though. Let's go ahead and move on to the last movie we have here for today, and that is Robert De Niro and Dustin Hoffman and Barry Levinson's Wag the Dog.
There's a crisis in the White House.
What's the crisis?
And the president's top advisors have been called together.
Oh, jeez.
The sexual misconduct occurred inside the Oval Office. With the election only days away, how much will this scandal affect the outcome?
The president spent the weekend pressing the flash. He wasn't campaigning, he was dating.
Now, Washington's top spin doctor
We can distract the press for 11 days to the election. I think we got a chance.
has an idea,
We can't afford a war. We're gonna have the appearance of a war.
but he can't pull it off without Hollywood's top producer.
Do I know you?
We have some mutual friends in Washington. Why come to me?
We want you to produce. You want me to produce your war? Not a war, it's a pageant. We need a theme, a song, some visuals. We need, it's a pageant.
New Line Cinema presents
How close are you to this?
What do you want the kid to say?
all the spectacle.
I know we're all concerned for the president.
I know we're all concerned for the president.
I know that we are all concerned for the president.
He didn't sell the line.
All the drama.
The president's gonna go to war with Albania in about 30 minutes.
Albania's hard to ride.
These are chips.
We need it for the armed position on the screen. It'll be a kit, and we'll punch it in later, right?
And all the effects of real war.
Okay, put the village behind.
Give me some sound of screaming.
Without the casualties.
America has seldom witnessed a more poignant picture of
They use the same process with the last Schwarzenegger movie. You're the man.
Albania, Albania.
That rhymes. I can't believe that we forgot our hero. It's like we sent him the Christmas card and we left out the fruitcake. There you go. Sergeant Schumann, if I may, welcome to history.
All right. Anybody want a beer? It's a good party.
When it's cooking, it's cooking.
From Academy Award-winning director Barry Levinson.
When this goes national, I get to put it on my resume.
Actually, no.
What could they do to me?
They come home to your house and kill you.
Academy Award winner Dustin Hoffman.
This is politics at its finest.
Academy Award winner Robert De Niro.
How would you like an ambassadorship? That's my payoff. Hell, I just do it for a story to tell. You couldn't tell anybody. I'm just kidding. No. It's just it's a pageant. It's a pageant. That's what it is.
Wag the Dog.
When the fit hits the shan, somebody's going to have to stay after school.
So Wag the Dog is based off of this book by Larry Bainhart called American Hero, and basically the plot right there, you have a spin doctor and a Hollywood producer who basically have to fabricate a war in Albania to distract voters from a presidential sex scandal, which, coincidentally enough, this came out 1 month before the infamous Clinton-Lewinsky scandal, and also the subsequent bombing of the pharmaceutical factory in Sudan by the Clinton administration, and that is later that August, which... there's a lot of things that happen that are very convenient compared to this movie. The comparison was also made when the Clinton administration initiated a bombing campaign on Iraq during Clinton's impeachment trials. And then the spring of '99, there was an administrative intervening in the Kosovo War and infiltrating a bombing campaign against Yugoslavia. which coincidentally bordered Albania and contained ethnic Albanians. I mean, so there's a lot that you could probably put into that compared to what was going on at the time period, but it still made for a really good movie. I mean, this is Barry Levinson returning to form after a couple of movies that did not perform as well as he probably wanted to. And it helps to have great talents like Robert De Niro and Dustin Hoffman there to make the material work, as well as a script by David Mamet. I mean, the movie overall is very funny, and it has a great cast overall to work with. You see Kirsten Dunst in there, Anne Heche, Dennis Leary, Willie Nelson, Andrea Martin, Kirsten Dunst, like I said, William H. Macy, Craig T. Nelson. Just a really good cast overall in this movie, and it is a really funny, slick movie. It's a very well-made film. It's a film that's very smart, very well-made, and it's like I said, it's a return to form for Barry Levinson, who needed this kind of after what happened with Toys, and then Jimmy Hollywood and Disclosure and Sleepers. All were not big hits, so this was a nice return to form for him. And it's one of his best movies, honestly, in my personal opinion. I really like this movie a lot, and it's a very fun film. It's a very well-made film, headlined by Robert De Niro and Dustin Hoffman. They really do keep the movie together. I can't recommend this movie enough. Great film. Perfect way to end this episode on.